a formula that is utilized to tell the accuracy of a radar. A study done by MIT.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation.
By foundation, I'm not quite sure that I understand what you mean by that. Would you agree that there are other variables that affect a radar? Distance and a range, an angle of the device, a rate of speed, a pulse of runtime, the atmospheric pressure. How about signal noise ratio? Do you know what the standard deviations are?
Nobody knows what the standard deviations are, and nobody cares. This defendant was speeding 87 in a 75, but rather than accept blame and pay his $57 ticket, he thought he'd use his massive brain to foil the phuzz and beat them at their own game. And why not? He's an out-of-work medical device salesman, so he has plenty of time to look up MIT studies and blather on about technology perfected almost 100 years ago. Nobody, except the defendant, wanted to be there for this trial. The officer wants to be out catching bad guys. JRegier wants to be out riding his bike somewhere. And Judge Webster is considering ending court early so she can have that elective root canal. This one's fun. Let's roll, nose.
Are you Michael Farhall, for the record?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Okay, the defendant also appears personally and pro se. Sir, I have a set today for a trial on the allegation that you were speeding 87 miles per hour in a 75 mile per hour zone. Are you ready to proceed for trial, Mr. Farhall?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Mr. Regier?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I don't need opening statements. If you'll just please proceed, Mr. Regier.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Master Trooper Cale Collins to the stand.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand.
Were you on active duty in your professional capacity on November 24th, 2024 at approximately 3:10 p.m.?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And where were you at that time?
I was southbound on I-35 highway at milepost 63 in Butler County, Kansas.
Okay.
There was a vehicle directly behind me in the right lane, and then there were two other vehicles gaining on that vehicle behind me in the left lane. The rear vehicle, I think, probably saw me first and slowed down. I checked the speed of the vehicle that continued to come at me at 87 in a 75 mile per hour zone. I locked it into the radar. As the front vehicle got closer, it was a Audi SUV.
Okay.
As it got closer, it was right at the bumper of the car that was directly behind me. And it slowed down, got behind that vehicle for probably 5-10 seconds, and then changed back into the left lane, and then sped back up to, after slowing down, sped back up to 80 miles an hour and passed by me.
So focusing on this Audi for the moment, you've referred to, I think you said 87 miles per hour as well as 80 miles per hour. Did you use any specialized equipment to check the Audi's speed? Yes,
I did. I used my stalker radar in the rear same mode.
Okay. And are you certified to use the stalker radar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you use testing to check that is working properly?
Yes, I do.
Could you please describe this testing for the court?
At the beginning and end of each shift, we do an internal test of the radar unit. There's a button on there that says test, and I guess as was stated earlier, it gives a happy tone or it says fail. And on the day in question, it gave the happy tone.
Okay.
And said pass.
How often do you personally conduct this testing?
At the beginning and end of every shift.
And how long have you had this stalker radar?
It was tested on June 29th of 21. And sometime after that, it was installed. I could not give you an exact date.
Okay. But since it was installed subsequent to this June 2021 date, you have never personally encountered a negative result on the internal testing of the stalker radar?
No, I have not.
Suppose theoretically that a stalker radar unit came back as a negative result and that it wasn't functioning properly. What would happen then?
It would be taken out of service and returned to the manufacturer for repair or replacement. But
you've never personally had to do that?
No, sir.
Okay, and that's because, and is that because, per your testimony, that you've never had your stalker radar fail?
That is correct.
On November 24th, 2024, at approximately 3 p.m., can you personally confirm that the stalker radar was working properly?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Did you perform the testing towards the beginning of your shift on that day?
Yes, I did.
Can you confirm that the Audi was specifically clocked by the stalker radar?
Yes, I can.
How do you know that?
Because it was the fastest, strongest vehicle coming to me. When we check a vehicle's speed, we both visually observe it, and then we use the stalker radar to confirm what we've already seen.
And what is the posted speed where you were at?
It is 75 miles per hour.
And what was the maximum speed that the stalker radar measured the Audi driving at?
At 87.
Okay. Did you ever successfully conduct a traffic stop on the Audi?
Yes, I did.
Where did the stop take place?
It would have been probably, like I said, I initially checked him at the 63, allowing time to go by and stop, probably at the 61 southbound.
Okay. And by 61, you mean the 61 mile post?
Correct.
Okay. Is both these mile posts, the 63 and the 61, are they both in Butler County?
Yes, they are.
Once you conducted the stop, did you personally speak to the driver of the Audi?
Yes, I did.
Do you see the driver of the Audi present in the Zoom conference?
Yes, I do.
Can you point them out and give a brief description for the court, please?
He's in the middle of my top part of my screen, but he's wearing a black, I guess you call it a hospital shirt, and he's got a white collar sticking up there from the t-shirt underneath.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record shall so reflect.
Trooper, did the defendant ever provide you with any official identification?
Yes, he did.
And what was this official identification?
A Kansas driver's license.
Did you ever write the defendant a citation for speeding 87 miles per hour in a 75 mile per hour zone?
Yes, I did.
Is there any reason why you wrote it specifically for 87 and not the lesser speed you had previously referred to?
Because that was the highest speed obtained as he was gaining from the rear.
Or in any redirect, no further questions.
Very well. Mr. Farhall, at this time, do you have any questions of the witness? You'll get a chance to tell your side of what happened shortly, but right now, do you have any questions for this witness?
Sure. Yes, I do, Your Honor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So first of all, thank you, Officer Collins. I appreciate your service and dedication to saving lives and what you do every day out there. So I do appreciate that. I hate that we're wasting time on a speeding ticket, to be honest with you, but that's what we do, I guess, sometimes. So, so be it. My first question to you, I will ask, and I've brought along something. I don't know if you can read this or not.
It went, yeah, back it up there. It went blurry on me.
There we go. Can you read that piece of paper, that formula?
I can tell you what it is, but
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Well, we don't
it's
know
got relevance.
because we don't know what it is, but I think the trooper said he knows what it is.
I know what it is. So you do
I-
not know what it is, Officer Collins?
I don't. I have no idea what that is. No, sir.
Oh,
So
I
I
thought
had-
you did.
I had no idea myself either, but when I did a little bit of research, what that is a formula that is utilized to tell the accuracy of a radar.
Objection,
Oh,
Your
at
Honor,
this
foundation
point-
and relevance.
At this point, I am going to sustain the objection unless you have someone here who firsthand is an expert on that or can testify firsthand that that is what you're saying it is, then I can't let that in.
I can reference it for you, Your Honor, to a study done by MIT.
Objection, Your Honor, foundation.
And there's no foundation. I mean, I need to be able to tell that this is legitimate other than just you telling me, because you could tell me anything and I need to know that they really did do that study.
Would you like me to send you the reference to the MIT study, independent study on radars?
I'm not going to look up or do the research for you, no.
I did it myself already, Your Honor.
Well, but you don't have the people here who did the study to testify and allow Mr. JRegier to cross-examine them.
Okay, that's your choice. If you choose not to allow that to be allowed, I understand.
Well, I'm just trying to follow the laws of hearsay.
That's
And
all
then
right.
like I said, there's also the foundation issue, so please proceed.
by foundation issue, I'm not quite sure that I understand what you mean by that.
Well, let's move on. I'm not gonna sit here and
Well,
tell you how to
here-
present your case. I'm not gonna walk you through it.
here's what's, I'm not asking you to, so I appreciate that. Here's what's important about that. If you look at these, granted, we're not going to count it, but what that does tell
Your
you.
Honor, if the court's going to allow this line of questioning and testimony to continue, I
Not,
will like to
Mr.
continue
Regier.
objection.
Your objection is sustained.
So as I was saying, the thing that you see there is that there's a lot of different
Oh,
variables.
We're not gonna get into that unless you can present the person that prepared it or somebody that can authenticate it as a reliable industry standard
Fine.
or
Fine. Let me ask you this,
Find
Officer.
anything on the internet.
Let me ask you this, Officer Collins. What variables go into what the accuracy is of those radar detectors? Do you know, sir?
As a matter of fact, I am not trained on that. That is not part of our training. I am required to know how to check the calibration of the unit and operate the unit.
And again, not picking on you, Officer Collins, but your calibration of the unit is a matter of pushing a button and the machine says, yes, it's within its parameters of what the company has set it to do, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you're pushing a button, it says, yeah, you're within the means of what we have set this to do. Fair?
That is correct.
Okay, so when you said if it fails, how many times do you test your unit and it fails and you say, oh, let me try it again, and you push that button a second time?
Absolutely never.
Never, ever.
Never, ever.
Okay, so your machine has never failed since 2021.
No,
Every single
sir.
time you hit that button, it has said beep, beep, positive reading.
That's correct, or it would go out of service immediately.
On one failure, it goes out of.
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
we wouldn't be able to
Okay.
trust the equipment anymore.
That's good. That's good to know. That's good to know. So would you agree? I guess my question would be, would you agree that there are other variables that affect a radar?
I would assume there are.
Okay, so some of the things that I would assume affect it are a distance and a range, an angle of the device, the rate
You're
of speed.
testifying, are you gonna make this a question somehow?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
So a rate of speed, a pulse of runtime of how long you hold that radar on, the atmospheric pressure in the area, and a thing
Okay,
called
this
echo
is a-
signal.
Your
And a
Honor,
thing called,
objection testifying on cross.
yeah. If you want to break that down and ask him about each of those factors individually, but you can't just lump it all together and then at the end of it, come up with some kind of statement or question. If
No.
this is going into a question, it's going to be so compound, you need to break it down and make it a question. And
so
let him answer.
leading into the question that I'm asking, the question is, are there variables that affect that radar? You've already said yes. Are some of those things the atmospheric pressure? You said that it was a clear day. I don't remember it being.
Your Honor, objection.
Fine, just you start out doing good and then you can't back. Okay. So
That's the salesman in me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Okay, ask him the question about the atmospheric pressure.
So can the atmospheric pressure affect a radar?
I mean, if there is something in my field of vision or weather related, which there was not, I don't know about the atmospheric pressure, nor did I measure it on said day. I'm sure it was in the study you read, however.
Okay. How about signal noise ratio? Are you familiar with that terminology?
Boy, I am not. I'm sorry.
Okay. So signal noise ratio is the echo.
Objection, Your Honor, testifying.
Yeah, do that.
Sorry, I
ahead.
was just trying to explain what it was. So signal noise ratio is something that is utilized.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. You need to move on.
Okay. So when you test your radar detector, what is it testing for? What's it reading? What was, for example, what was the old tuning fork used for?
They also check the calibration of the unit.
How do you know how that's done?
Yes, I sure do.
Okay, how, please?
I use two tuning forks. You hold it in front of the antenna. The tuning fork gives off a signal. and tells you I guess the operating level of the radar unit, and it allows you to verify its calibration.
So that signal that's giving off, is that a straight signal, a solid signal?
So you're asking me, well, I didn't do the test on said day, the tuning fork test. It is no longer required by policy. It is no longer required by the manufacturer. So I get we're discussing what the tuning forks do, but they allow me to check the calibration of the unit.
Okay, and it's no longer required, I'm assuming, because they've got that stuff built into the unit now, where hitting that button checks those things automatically. Is that correct?
That
or
is correct.
An assumption, I guess.
Yes.
Assumption. So signal noise ratio is what it's testing that for, is in particular.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, that's what it is. So,
stricken.
So also you mentioned something about you did a rear sane mode test or radar detection on the first reading that you took, the 87 miles per hour. Isn't normal procedure to do the dual mode, front and rear?
Our radar units do not have a dual mode.
They do not. They only have a single mode.
That is correct.
So
you can only get them one way at a time.
Is there shortcomings with a single mode versus a dual mode?
No, it prevents us from, I mean, if I were to be checking people coming and going at the same time, then that would allow for, me to check somebody going and not coming. So this only allows me to check one direction.
Okay. So a single mode versus a dual mode radar, I'm assuming a dual mode would take more pictures of the same thing or more readings of the same thing. Different angles, different advantages of it. I'm asking, do you know, is that why they're used to be dual?
I do not know. I do not know. Okay. I can just tell you how my radar operates.
Okay. Let's see if I have any other questions here for you. Do you know what the standard deviations are for your radar detection, radar detector? Your, what is it? Stalker DXR? Stalker?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You don't know the manufacturer?
Well, I don't. I know that the more direct you are coming up behind me, that there's no deviation. If you're directly behind me or very near direct as you were, there is no deviation.
No deviation, meaning that it's 100% perfect. It's reading the speed 100%.
You are correct.
Okay. You said that the highest speed that you obtained was the 87 miles per hour. Did you lock in that speed, Officer
Yes,
Collins?
I did. Yes, okay. I did.
And then shortly thereafter, locked in the 80 miles per hour?
I did. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the 87 was when I was behind you. The 80 was when I was beside you.
No, it was. So like I said, you tucked in behind another vehicle, became invisible is how I referred to it. And then moved back out and sped back up to 80 miles an hour after slowing.
Okay. All righty. I think that's all the questions I've got today, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Any other witnesses, Mr. Regier?
No, Your Honor.
State rests?
State does so rest, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. Farhall, it is your chance to put on any evidence if you wish.
I don't really care to testify per se, but is this where I get to give my side of the story, or is that still yet to come?
Yep, this is where you get to give your story, but I have to put you under oath if you're going to give it.
That's fine. Absolutely.
Please raise your right hand.
I am the one that was allegedly traveling at 87 miles per hour and citationed with a speeding ticket for 87 miles per hour in a 75 mile per hour zone.
Okay, and what do you want to say about that situation?
So what I'd like to say is a couple things. First of all, in my research and studying on radars, and I have a real hard time understanding and agreeing and believing that anything in this world is 100% today. If radars were 100%, we wouldn't be having airplane
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Your Honor, I think I was told that the radar was 100% accurate, that I was doing 87 miles per hour behind the officer.
I'll let you go ahead.
And I reconfirmed that again with the officer a second time. Second of all, so I find it very hard to find that anything is 100% accurate in this world anymore. In my research and in my studies, I saw that the probability of a radar of any
Objection,
kind.
Your Honor, not in evidence.
You can't get into what you saw in your research and
Okay.
your study unless you can prove that it is reliable or prove that it is not based on the statements of people not present in court today.
Okay. So the fact that hitting a button on a device saying that it's falling within the means of a company's speculation or a company's specifications that has built-in standard deviations of at least 2 degrees.
Objection, Your Honor, not speculation. And are we proceeding to closing arguments at this time?
Well, he's kind of doing his closing argument as well as testifying.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. There's nothing that is 100% accurate. I don't care what you say. I'm in the medical industry, and there's nothing 100% accurate. It's called a standard deviation, and there is a standard deviation to a radar detector, and that standard deviation is known to be 2%.
Objection, Your Honor, foundation, not in evidence.
I'm going to let him proceed.
2% in a perfect world, 2 degrees in a perfect world, which equates to 95% accuracy. And 95% accuracy at 87 miles per hour, I could have been doing 82.65 miles per hour instead of 87 miles per hour. What I'm trying to say here is nothing is perfect in a perfect world. We're not in a perfect world. There's other things that, variables that could influence how well that device was working. It hasn't been taken in to be checked since 2021 when it was first installed. It's been a button hit to push and say, yeah, it's falling within their
Your
means.
Honor, if the state's going to continue with, if the court's going to consider allow this line of questioning, the state will lodge a continuing objection on grounds of speculation.
These are the comments that you made
Your
earlier.
Honor, I am requesting.
I'm going to let you continue, Mr. Regier, but I will note your continuing objection as well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
These things are built with a residual bias built into them. So when you're hitting that button to test it, it's falling within the means of their parameters. It knows it's not perfect. It's doing the best it can with the variables that are being fed into it. And that's why the value of that formula that I showed was that all those variables.
Objection, Your Honor, not in evidence.
I'm
There are
trying to give you some leeway, but you haven't given, well, I'll save that. Go ahead. Wrap it
So,
up.
so recommended probability of a device is not 100%. The accuracy of that has a 5% leeway, in my opinion. And
Objection, Your Honor.
stated in the
Continuing
manufacturer's.
objection noted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So at the end of the day, I don't feel that I've been proven without a reasonable doubt that a crime of 87 miles per hour in a 75 mile per hour zone has been proven here, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Well, Mr. Regier, I agree that was pretty much a closing argument. Do you have any questions of him, though?
Just briefly.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, you previously indicated that you are employed within the medical industry. What is your profession?
I am not employed at this moment in time. I am looking for a job, sir. And I don't know that I said that this time that I was employed in the medical industry, but I have sold medical devices for 40 years, sir.
Okay. Do you have any experience working with law enforcement equipment?
No, sir, I do not with law enforcement equipment. I understand science. I was trained in
questions,
science.
Your Honor.
Mr.
Well-
Farhad, do you have any other evidence you wish to present today?
I didn't understand Mr. Regier's comment there. I'm sorry. What did he say?
No further questions?
Oh, okay. No, I don't have any further questions either.
All right, folks, I pretty well heard the defendant's closing argument. I can pretty well tell what Mr. Regier is going to say, and is going to basically mirror a lot of what the trooper said. The trooper gave experienced, qualified testimony that he has used this radar since June of 21, that he's had years of experience with radars, uses them very frequently. This unit has had no malfunctions, and that when he uses it, it is accurate. The defendant gave me some good arguments, but he didn't have any evidence to back them up. I don't know where this information came from, that there are variables, percents of errors. There wasn't a foundation that this particular defendant actually had any firsthand knowledge of the radar units. In fact, I understood him to say he didn't have. And so I have to go by what was the evidence. The defendant says, I don't feel I was guilty of 87, but I can't go by feelings. I have as much as I go by what is actually presented. And the testimony presented was from an experienced, qualified user of the radar, and not only the radar, but that he has to visually determine the speed of the vehicle, that he uses his visual training in conjunction with the radar and its accuracy. I do find the defendant guilty of speeding 87 in a 75. The scheduled fine is $57. Court costs are $108. The total due is $165. That is due in 14 days. The defendant has 14 days to appeal. If he believes I've misapplied the law, he can appeal that to the Kansas Court of Appeals. But in order for the clerk to accept his appeal, he needs to post a cash bond in the amount of $165. Mr. Regier, anything further on this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Faha, anything further on this matter?
So 165 has to be paid first to the Court of Appeals if I choose to appeal.
It's paid into the clerk of the district court as an appeal bond if you appeal.
And does that alleviate the payment that you're saying, the $57, and I forget what the other part was, the court fee?
108.
108.
Your fine is $57. Your court costs are $108 for a total of $165.
Okay.
I order that be paid in 14 days, or if you appeal, I will stay that amount, but I am ordering you to post an appeal bond of $165.
Okay. And how is that done, ma'am?
I cannot, the appeal? I can't represent you in that. I can't direct you as your attorney in that. You'll have to do that on your own and with your own counsel.
Okay. You can't tell me how I go about applying for an appeal, setting up for an appeal?
Well, it's a legal process, and no, I can't legally walk you through and teach you how to appeal your case. I can't do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Trooper Collins, are you here on any other case?
I am not.
Then you and the defendant are excused at this time, sir. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Officer Collins.
Yep.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoy watching this content, please like and subscribe. It helps new channels like this one gain exposure. There is a lot more good court to come, so if you like what you saw, tell your friends. If you didn't, tell me and let me know what you'd like to see and how I can improve. Thanks.